Hey guys, welcome to a Tea Party, a podcast where high school students give you the latest tea down the middle politics and what it's like to be a student from our generation, all while drinking tea. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm doing very well, especially considering that we're off from school in Washington State for the next 6 weeks.
Yes, I've been bored as hell, actually. To be honest, there's not much to do when, your school is basically closed for it's like almost the same length as summer break, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been doing much, but I've heard you've been doing things recently.
Oh, yeah.
Or you've been forced to be doing stuff.
Unstructured time also means a very educational time. So
you've been learning things. I have not been learning things. I've been in Twitter for the last few days.
That sounds amazing.
That's all I've been doing.
Okay, so now that you know that we're drinking tea
and talking about tea,
what kind of tea are you drinking?
I am drinking ginger citrus tea. That is my go-to tea, and what I currently have on me right now. What about you, Sean?
Is that uncaffeinated? Hold on.
Uncaffeinated? I believe it does not have caffeine. No. It is.
Treason.
Okay, look, not all of us have to pull all-nighters with your... Are you drinking green tea or black tea right now?
I am drinking jasmine oolong tea.
Which is neither.
Only the best.
Only the best. I think you would call it sacrilegious. How I have made my tea.
Explain yourself.
Can you take a guess as to how I made this ginger citrus tea, which I am currently drinking?
Did you actually add ginger into it?
No, why would I? No. Okay, it's I don't think it could be worse. It depends on your perspective. It could be worse than that.
What'd you do?
I microwaved the water for 90 seconds.
Oh, my heart. All right, let's move on to our news for this week. I'm sure we've all been very familiar with what's happening currently, and you might have heard of it. It's called COVID-19, otherwise known as the Wuhan coronavirus.
Yeah, it's been spreading around the world. There's not many countries that haven't had at least one case of it now. Current hotspots are Iran, Italy, and South Korea, last time I checked. There's also been spreading around the U.S., especially Washington State, which is where Sean and I live. And the House of Representatives recently introduced a package. Did you hear about it, Sean?
Yeah, it's supposed to be over to the Senate later this week.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Well, no one's really sure when they're going to receive it, but sooner than later probably, since the situation is getting worse and worse every day. It's supposed to provide relief for workers, especially those in restaurants, since those are being very directly impacted by the restrictions that are being placed all around the states. Restaurant workers are supposed to be compensated with paid leave because, at least here in Washington State, you aren't really allowed to go to restaurants, or at least they discourage you from going.
Oh, I've heard that our governor closed down most of our restaurants.
Yeah, no tips. I don't know. There's been especially controversy about the package because tip workers I believe they weren't included as part of the package, but there might be amendments made. As far as other responses around the world, Italy is currently under lockdown as if their entire country is under house arrest. And other countries in Europe are providing similar measures. You might have seen, actually, Sean, have you seen those videos of the Italians with their instruments putting on the balconies? Have you seen those?
I've heard about it. I've never actually seen it myself.
I've seen it.
That sounds terrible.
Well, it's like the fact that they're, quarantined more or less is terrible. But there have been videos of them like singing the Italian national anthem on their balconies and playing instruments, etc. They're really uplifting videos. You should go watch them.
I will. Okay, so what's like the overall effect on our economy?
It's not doing great, the economy, that is, at least the U.S. economy, as well as the global economy. But focusing on the U.S., there's been a 13% drop in the Dow, 3,000 points, which is the lowest it's been since May of 2017, according to the New York Times. And they are projecting that this response could last until August. It is currently March, for reference. So yeah,
wow.
Economy is it's
Maybe
not
we'll connect right into summer break.
We just might. Our school is closed for the next 6 weeks. Do you know what they're going to do with summer break, if anything?
I really hope they don't shorten our summer break, but we're really not getting any of our academics in.
Currently,
if
we're
we
not.
look on the bright side, Korea experienced a drastic decline in their numbers of new cases, right? Since their peak of 500 cases per day around a week ago, their vigilant testing structure is raising awareness and caution around their communities. Now, it is reported that only about 60 to 70 cases are being reported every day. And I know that these drive-thrus that are so successful elsewhere for testing are starting to appear in the US. What do you think about it?
As far as I know, there's been a new drive-through clinic that was opened at UW in Seattle. I think they're like a really essential step going forward as far as testing goes, because if there's been one thing that the US response has been lacking, in my opinion, it is testing. We have not been provided with like the necessary kits to test. I know a lot of people. I know a friend of mine who got really sick, but he didn't want to go get tested because he didn't know where to get tested. He didn't know how much it would cost. You know?
Yeah, especially for people without insurance, that must be expensive.
Yeah, it's not a great time to not have insurance at this, especially with this crisis. Talking about containment, do you know anything about the containment efforts around the area?
Well, all I know is that we're told to practice social distancing. Which means that we have to stay like 6 feet away from other people when we're out and about.
It's more or less just stay at home until this all blows over. But in terms of social distancing, oh yeah, did you hear Governor Inslee in Washington State? He banned gatherings of 50 or more people.
50? Oh,
50
so
people.
They decreased the number of people.
Yeah, it was first 250. And then now it's 50. So less and less gatherings are happening. The U.S., I believe, should be following, the World Health Organization's guidelines and try to limit social impact. Do you have any other thoughts about this issue as far as COVID-19 goes, Sean?
Well, I've heard that there's been a lack of supplies in hospitals.
Yeah, well, actually, my mom, she works at a hospital, and they run out of masks, which is, absurd if you think about the fact that they're actively interacting with COVID-19 patients. I believe that I actually saw Trump's address a couple hours ago, and then he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to be providing more supplies." Do you think there's anything else that the government needs to do in terms of the response?
I really think it's just speeding it up and following, what the World Health Organization put out as a packet. Because I know the White House is trying to develop their own steps and procedures, but really the speed should be what we should be focusing on.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on from COVID-19, such a large topic, but we're going to move on to
politics. Well, down the middle politics, that is.
There were some primaries closed recently, I believe, because of the whole social distancing thing. How do you think that will affect the election?
We know that we've been starting to encourage more and more voter turnout among young people as well as old people and minorities. But I think that since all these closures and COVID-19, I think that's really starting to prevent that from happening.
What, voter engagement?
Yeah, we had a general consensus to just start voting a lot more. But
because the voter rates were so low, especially in 2016. I mean, it increased in 2018, but it was still pretty low. I think I heard Bernie Sanders and Biden both say during the debate that they stopped hosting live rallies. There's a rally that happened recently in Tacoma for Bernie Sanders, but they've stopped doing that because the sheer number of people in that stadium, the number of people that stadium can fit, it's just not feasible. But in terms of turnout, that's an interesting question.
We can only speculate.
we don't know what's going. We can only speculate what goes on from here on.
Now that we're done talking about politics and how natural disasters and I suppose acts of God is affecting America again, let's do some PSAs.
Yay, public service announcements.
Public service announcements.
Let's go.
Remember to wash your hands
properly.
You know how all the hand sanitizer is gone? Well, washing with soap is just as good, if not better.
You should watch for 20 seconds. There's actually guidelines in the CDC where they specifically tell you how to wash your hands properly. So watch that. Additionally, don't travel in groups more than 10. The CDC is shrinking their number of people that you should be around at any given moment. So just don't travel in groups more than 10 and you should be fine.
Also, remember not to panic buy everything that you see on the shelves. Hospitals need supplies, like we've said previously.
It's not the apocalypse. You don't need an 8-pack of toilet paper. You'll be fine.
Okay, let's move on to life as a student, where we talk about life as a student every week.
As it is constantly changing in the 21st century. So currently, Sean, you and we are on break. And you have said that you are going through tutoring.
Yeah, so I know a lot of kids, because of this school shutdown, they've been going on online schools or getting tutors to structure their time better, because 6 weeks is a long time for an academic
break. Do you think that we can Khan Academy our way through the rest of the semester if needed?
You know, as IB's diploma candidates, no. But as AP students, probably.
There's enough content on the internet. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I've heard from, are very bored. But I mean, I think the problem is not just how bored we as students are about, if you think holistically about our education, especially for seniors who have to graduate this year. How are they going to graduate? If it's going to be, is it going to be a ceremony?
It's a real concern at this point. Going back to school is completely dubious.
It's been dubious for a while, but then they announced, "Oh, we're going to go on a break for the next 6 weeks," and then it became very real. But for the next couple of months, who knows? They said that this response could go all the way up to August, which is our summer break. So no one really knows.
You know, I have an interesting question for you. What do you think about the impact of this break on procrastination as a student problem?
Procrastination? Well, I've been doing a whole lot of procrastinating recently. Since I don't have one to do, I would only assume it would make it worse. In my opinion,
I'm not sure, but I think that procrastination is probably going to die down because we would feel so not motivated to do anything that we'll just stop.
You think that procrastination will decrease because we don't have any structured school schedules, that kind of thing?
Right, because I think procrastination really comes from rebellion and
teen rebellion. I can relate.
Okay, and let's now move on to
random segments.
I'm gonna have to bleep that out, miss.
Was this supposed to be a PG? Was this supposed to be a PG podcast? Is that what we're doing here? Okay. Either way, let's move on. Would you like to hear a tweet that I prepared for this podcast?
Tweet of the week? Absolutely.
Tweet of the week. Okay. The tweet is from Jason, I'm assuming it's pronounced Jason Reed, at Jason Reed UK. Quote, "If you're upset about regular folk hoarding toilet paper, wait till you hear about how a tiny percentage of rich people have hoarded most of the world's wealth." It has 577,000 likes.
You know, I think it's just truth, and that's what 99% of Twitter is.
That's it for today's episode. If you'd like to contact us for whatever reason, send in questions, etc., please email us at atpartypodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, Eunice, thank you for potting with me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Our executive producer has been Sean Fan, which is me, and Eunice Cho,
which is me.
This podcast was produced and edited, Sean, as well as Eunice, but also pushed out on Anchor. Thank you, Anchor, for supporting us. And like the Brothers Green always say, don't forget to be awesome.